Hello girls, hello boys. This is the last video that you're going to have to endure before holidays. You're going to be able to rest from these classes for whole 2 weeks, I think. So for now, today we will have to study the 7th century. But before we do that, I really want us to give a deeper thought into all the classes that we have been having in history. In order for us to really understand the processes that are going by. So this is why I want to take this approach today, this processual analysis. This means I really want us today, before starting with the 7th century, that is somehow simple. It is characterized by only one thing. So before we go to that one thing that is the 7th century, I want us to focus in this thing, in being able to really tell apart and to really be able to identify these moments in which the structures are being transformed. Because remember that that a process is going from one state of things to another state of things. So that is what I really want us to be able to identify from all the previous classes that we have, because I don't want them just to be like videos stored in YouTube that you just watched, but that you really never were able to really link and to really able to see the processes that are going by. Because remember that the point here is to study the processes that are happening in the social products, such as society, such as culture, and many of the things that we're going to be analyzing today. So I really want you to see not only the century, but the processes in a bit of a broader scale, so you can really understand the processes within the century. Okay, so let's start analyzing all these states, these changes of states, from the point of view of the territory, how the territory is going to be modified throughout this time that we are studying. So everything begins over here with the Roman Empire, right? Remember that Theodosius was the last emperor that actually ruled the whole empire, both the Western and the Eastern Empire. And after his death, the empire is going to be divided into the Western and the Eastern Empire, and that is by the end of the 4th century. So basically, the 5th century starts over here. This is the the situation that we're going to be starting with in our analysis, that, remember, is from the 5th to the 15th century, just for the Middle Ages. Okay, so remember that over here we have the invasion of Alaric over the Western Empire and everything that we studied with the Visigoths. So the 5th century is going to end more or less like this, with all these barbaric peoples, all these barbaric tribes. And actually, remember that they were foederati. Remember that they were peoples living within the empire's territory, and that they were paying military services in exchange for living in these lands. So Rome is going to be depending on them heavily, and by the end of the 5th century, they are going to overtake Rome, as Rome really didn't have much of an army, and most of their power relied on these military services that the foederati provided. Then the foederati are simply just going to take Rome for themselves. So in the 6th century, that was a class that we had yesterday. Remember that we saw how this map, in which all the territory is going to be, the territory of Rome is going to be divided within all these little kingdoms. If you see, we have, well, where Syagrius remained, remember that was the last free Roman province in which he was kind of a governor. But apart from that, this would be the larger kingdom, right? The Visigothic kingdom. Perhaps also as with the Italian kingdom, but remember that the Ostrogoths took control of that really quickly, and the Goths were in command both of France, Spain, and Italy, and this part of Greece. So this is the division of territories by the end of the 5th century. Just all these small, very, very small kingdoms, and this last province that was still part of the Free Western Empire. And by the 5th century, these kingdoms are going to be unifying. As we were saying, Theodoric the Great is going to be defeating Odoacer. Remember that he kills him at dinner, and he's going to be taking the kingdom of Italy for himself. And remember that the Franks with Clovis the First are going to be conquering first that last Roman territory that Syagrius was taking care of, and then they are going to be defeating the Alemanni, and after the Alemanni, they are going to be defeating the Burgundian. However, they allow the Burgundian to stay as a free state, and finally, they are going to be defeating the Visigoths over here, and are going to be gaining all this huge territory that is here in brown. And you can also count this part over here, because remember that they were a state that had to pay taxes to France and were almost part of the territory. You may think of it like that. So, and mainly because by the 9th century it is going to be the case, so you may already think it like that. So we have then the Franks over here, the Theodoric the Great. Remember that the killed Odoacer and to control both of these parts of Greece and of the whole Italian kingdom. But when Clovis the First defeated the Visigoths over here and won this territory, remember that their king, the king of the Visigoths, that was Alaric II, he died in this battle. So Theodoric the Great, that was the king of the Ostrogoths, is going to be taking care also of this Visigothic kingdom. So basically, by the end of by the middle of the 6th century, what we are going to have is the kingdom of the Goths. Both the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths is going to be managed by Theodoric the Great. We're going to have the Franks, and we're going to have the Vandals. This is, of course, and we're going to have in the east the Byzantine Empire. But this is going to be more or less the situation by the 6th century. The Britons, remember that perhaps we may think that over here it was King Arthur fighting the Saxons, but that may very well just be a legend, right? The main situation is going to be played over here. We're going to have mainly three kingdoms: the kingdom of the Goths with Theodoric the Great, the kingdom of the Franks with Clovis the First, and the Vandals that, remember, that took control of this northern part of Africa and of Carthage. But by the end of the 6th century, the Byzantine Empire is going to have these great successes, led by Justinian. Justinian is going to be this great conqueror, and he's going to take. First, he's going to be taking this part of Africa, and he's going to recover the part of Carthage and everything that the Vandals have taken control of, and then it is going to defeat the Ostrogoths, and is going to take control of the kingdom of Italy. So by the end of the 6th century, the situation that we're going to be having is precisely this one. The Byzantine Empire, that was the Eastern Empire, was about to reconquer the whole territory of Rome. It was only missing France, and it was only missing Spain. So basically, it was only missing the Visigoths and Franks. But other than that, the Byzantine Empire basically took control of the Roman Empire all over again. If you can see over here, it is almost the same territory, except for Britain, France, and Spain. So remember that we said that this century is going to end when Mohammed starts spreading Islam. Why? Because as you can see here, and this is what we're going to be seeing today, this is why I told you that this class was very simple. Because even if we can go into a lot of details, and we can go into a lot of philosophical discussion about Mohammed, and perhaps we will in another moment, but by now the only really clear process that we can observe over here in the 7th century is how Islam is going to be spreading, first from Arabia, then throughout the Middle East and Northern Africa, and then how it is finally going to conquer even the Visigothic kingdom, the last remains over there. And of course, this is why I am telling you that this century ends over here, because if by the end of the 6th century the Byzantine Empire is going to be retaking control over all these territories, as you can see here, with the spread of Islam in the 7th century, the Byzantine Empire